Princess Diana, who she was, why is everyone so obsessed with her, and what's up with her shady death. Diana married Prince Charles, the Prince of Wales, in July of 1981, and shortly after became the most adored woman in the entire Commonwealth. And this is for a number of reasons. For one, she was, for the most part, common. Diana was the first British citizen to marry into the royal family. Yes, her father was an earl, but to be honest, that meant nothing for her life. She lived on the bad side of town with 3 roommates and worked as a kindergarten assistant. Up until her acquaintance with the prince, she was as common as it gets. So then why did Charles choose Diana? Truthfully, he didn't. He chose another woman, Camilla Shand. The two met in 1970 and instantly hit it off. The only problem? She was just a little bit in love with another man, Andrew Parker Bowles. Despite Charles and Camilla's commitment to each other, the royal family just would not allow the marriage to take place. During this interior controversy with the royal family, Charles was sent to a post far away and returned to discover Camilla and Andrew had married, an event that Charles suspected was arranged by his family. Love marriages are a new concept in the imperial family. Marriages were designed to be advantageous, keep bloodlines clean, and often prove beneficial to allying countries. And because marriages were more done for a sense of duty throughout the course of British history, most members of the royal family engaged in sexual affairs. Mistresses were more common for men, however, because they needed to avoid questions of paternity of the heir. So, Camilla wasn't deemed appropriate to be the Princess of Wales. She had a history with other men publicly, which worried the Queen and Prince Philip of a potential affair. She wasn't a princess. However, she was supported as a mistress for Charles, which will come into play later. Charles had been courting various women for years, including Diana's older sister, and finding no success. When he met Diana, he felt that she would be a perfect princess. Yes, she was young, immature, and naive, but she was pretty, young, sociable, and in love with him, and arguably the most important, a virgin. And she quickly won the hearts of the royal family not long after Charles proposed. She agreed and married him, with little knowledge of the skeleton, Camilla, in his closet, or the pressure of being a working royal. Not long after they were married, Diana and Charles produced an heir, Prince William. Diana developed postpartum depression and struggled immensely with her mental health. During her pregnancy, Diana admits to throwing herself down the stairs to earn the attention of her husband. Shortly after Prince William was born, the royal couple was sent on a tour of Australia, a nation that at the time was experiencing a wave of nationalism and urging for independence from the British crown. Diana insisted on bringing William with them. Though the baby proved difficult on the tour, the Australian people, specifically women, found out how much of a mother Diana was to her son, the way that she spoke about him and clung to him. Diana now has the nickname the Queen of the People's Hearts, something that was surely born on the Wales tour of Australia. For whatever reason, whether it be her outfits, her beauty, her kindness, or her motherhood, she was absolutely adored by the people, a quality that Charles might appreciate in his new wife. Wrong. He hated her for it. His jealousy divided them in their marriage. Everything Diana did, the media ate it up, while Charles, the future King of England, was cast in her shadow. And yes, jealousy was a big factor in the breakdown of the marriage, but objectively, the greatest factor was Charles' continued affair with Camilla.
Do you think Mrs. Parker Bowles was a factor in the breakdown of your marriage?
Well, there were 3 of us in this marriage, so it was a bit crowded.
Amongst the Princess Diana's fans, most expressed complete hatred towards Camilla. They think she was the cause of destruction in Diana's marriage and as a result life, but in every other story than Diana's, we would root for Camilla, the girl that the royal family denied that Charles remained in love with for his entire life. When the Queen first met Camilla, she said, "I admire your patience." Not 2 years later, after William was born, the royal couple produced their spare, Prince Harry, who Diana describes as, "It's a boy, and he's even got red hair." Despite the birth of his new son, Charles remained with his loyalties to Camilla, something that at this point Diana was incredibly aware of. At one point, she confronts Miss Parker Bowles. "I would just like you to know that I knew exactly what's going on," Diana tells Camilla, warning her not to treat the princess like an idiot. And amongst the troubles in her personal life and marriage, Diana is making great efforts to destigmatize AIDS in the late 80s. Fear of the disease increased homophobia around the world. Diana essentially made this crisis her platform, shaking ungloved hands with patients, taking photographs with them, and visiting care centers and hospitals. She especially focused on children. And though the disease could not be spread by touch, many people refused to interact or simply shake the hand of patients. Journalists described Diana's actions as the most important thing that a royal has done in years. She dramatically changed attitude towards AIDS, not just in the UK, but globally. And of course, not all the media coverage Diana was getting at this time was focused on her work, but also her personal life and marriage. In May of 1992, Andrew Morton, an English journalist, published Diana, Her True Story. This book admits to self-harm and accuses her husband of an affair. The royal family never confirmed or denied Diana's cooperation with the journalist, but it is now known that questions were sent to Diana and she recorded responses to return to him in fear of open participation like a formal interview. About a year later, the Squiggy tapes came out. They consisted of a telephone call between Diana and a lover who called her the pet name Squiggy. And though they were bad press for her, the public was already kind of under the impression that her husband Charles engaged in sexual affairs. In December of the same year, the couple formally separate. Within a month, tapes of a phone conversation with Camilla and Charles dated back to 1989, when the two were still married to their other spouses. They were objectively worse than the sweet pet named Squeaky. In this tape, Charles wishes that he could be Camilla's tampon. After Diana announces her plans to retire as a working royal, she steps down from charities. She began dating again. It would not be until 1995, however, until the royal divorce was finalized. Diana was allotted $22.5 million and $600,000 a year. She remained in Kensington Palace, but lost her Royal Highness title and now is just Diana, Princess of Wales. But despite this, she kept up with her humanitarian work, traveling to help with the Red Cross in Angola. Shortly after, she finds herself dating Dodi Fayed, an Egyptian filmmaker. They had only been together a few months. The couple had plans to leave Dodi's apartment near Arc de Triomphe and head to dinner, where photographers began following them. Dodi told the driver to go to the Ritz-Carlton and not their dinner location. After dinner, the driver, who was, by the way, intoxicated, was called to drive them home. The plan was to sneak out of the back entrance of the hotel. The passengers included Henry Paul, the driver, Diana as bodyguard in the front, and Dodi and Diana in the back. Paul began speeding at 85 miles an hour as photographers followed quickly. The car clipped the Fiat in front of them before running headfirst into the pillar of the Loma Tunnel. Dodi and Paul died on impact, but Diana, despite not wearing a seatbelt, didn't. In fact, many witnesses said her injuries looked pretty minor and certainly not life-threatening. Shortly after, EMS arrives. Okay, pause. Let's preface this. There are a lot of theories surrounding Diana's death. Specifically, some believe that it was arranged by the royal family. And to be honest, they have a lot of evidence. The EMS did take an incredibly long time to reach the hospital, made several stops along the way, and didn't even go to the nearest hospital. Henry Paul was not her regular driver and was intoxicated, and over the course of her time as a working royal, Diana expressed some sort of fear of the institution of the royal family. However, realistically, this was a series of unfortunate events as opposed to a grand scheme designed by the royals. What ultimately killed Diana was that she was not wearing a seatbelt. Her injuries consisted of a fatal tear to the pulmonary vein that caused internal bleeding, and the sheer number of people that would have to be in on murdering their beloved princess. Not to mention, the royal family doesn't have a strong motivation to kill her. Yes, she definitely didn't make Charles look good, but she was the mother of the future heir to the throne. Additionally, the Queen of England is the head of church. Yes, it was frowned upon for Charles, a divorcee, to remarry while his spouse was still alive. But you know what else is frowned upon in church? Murder. And though her death was well over 2 decades ago, her influence still felt globally. In fact, I'm wearing a Princess Diana shirt right now. Her athleisure style of biker shorts and an oversized sweatshirt, as well as timeless pieces like a white button-down and straight-leg jeans, are still popular today. She is one of history's greatest popular culture icons. Her legacy is most likely to be shown modernly with her son Harry, the Spare, and his American wife Meghan, who continually resist the structure of the royal family in order to protect their own mental health and their children.